initially seeing you guys emerge and the detail and effort behind your marketing and the marketing initiatives that you was using was quite inspiring.
And awareness every year.
Yeah.
We try not to chop at that. We're always, we're at the forefront. And if we ever go to a show, we get invited to these shows. Yeah. They like the fanfare, the food things. So yeah, it's a big thing.
Welcome to Behind the Brand, our second edition. My good friend Jamie Wilsden, a serial entrepreneur, an aspiring businessman based locally to us in Loughton. Jamie, first and foremost, welcome.
Hi, hello. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you here with us today. So, I guess really, first of all, talk about our relationship, how we know each other, where we met. I think probably I can think back to a stag do in the Belfry.
Yeah, that was one.
Stag do.
Yeah. Little memory of it.
Yeah, I've as well. We'll keep the detail of that away from the viewers and listeners, indeed. So yeah, look, tell us about your business and Future Group and what you guys do over there.
Yes, Future Group is a facilities company, and we are working for block and property managers predominantly. I'll say 95% of the business is working for those, and we maintain the portfolios of developments for them. So all the safety services, fire, security, lighting, everything that makes up that communal space in those blocks. So compliance is massive. Certainly since Grenfell, which a terrible situation that was, but I think it gave the right kick to the right people in the right direction. So where they used to inform people that things were poor, fouled, there's a responsible person. And
as you say, it was a disastrous situation, certainly in our recent history. But obviously, look, with every disaster comes opportunity. Opportunity to tidy up legislation and compliance and whatever else. And you guys have been, big beneficiaries of that in terms of the space you filled in the industry.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we've become, I would say, one of the sort of leaders, the go-to contractors in that, certainly in the southeast of the country. Yeah, we've spent a lot of time and effort marketed and putting our brand in front of these clients, and we're the business is seeing some.
Yeah, I mean, look, as an entrepreneur myself, I've got keen interest in marketing and seeing what other companies do, not only in our space and industry, but in other industries. And although we'll come on to the fact that Butler and Stag and Future are now working together on various projects, but initially seeing you guys emerge and the detail and effort behind your marketing and the marketing initiatives that you was using was quite inspiring, really. So, you seem to come from nowhere and explode very quickly. So, the campaigns are successful and you're getting seen, really. LinkedIn being a big platform.
Massive. LinkedIn's a big, I mean, it's very hard to monetize, what's been created from that. I think if LinkedIn was switched off tomorrow, it would be a tough. Because a lot of my business is done for that. Marketing's everything, and brand awareness is everything. We have a percentage of budget that we fire back into our brand and market awareness, brand awareness every year.
Yeah.
We try not to chop at that. We're always, at the forefront. And if we ever go to a show, we get invited to these shows. They like the fanfare, the food things. So it's a big thing.
I think that in terms of our ROI, it's always difficult to determine, as you say, how that spend's going and what kind of return that you're getting on it. But I mean, we experienced it ourselves personally as a company. 2003 was quite a tough time in our industry. Interest rates were spiraling and turnover was suffering a little bit, but you either kind of cut your cloth and tighten your belt, or you carry on with that market spend, knowing that when things do turn, you'll explode out the other side, and it gets you up and running a lot quicker.
It's a must. Yeah, it's a must for us. Like I said, we will continue to fund that market and sales department simply because if we switch it off, it doesn't take long to be forgotten. So we just keep ourselves at the forefront.
Yeah. So, kind of watching your journey and seeing you guys, so I think 2014 was the beginning of Future.
Yeah. It's formed.
And then obviously it's grown and you've added various strings, the group dynamics in terms of the offering from, starting off as lighting, electrical, fire safety, security systems, EV charging. It just continues to grow and grow.
Yeah. So it was, the baby was lighted, and that was my background. was working for some big blue chips prior to Future and driving past blocks of apartments, lights on all day.
Yeah.
That was the baby. So Future Lighting was to go into these blocks and look at initiatives to save energy, maintenance. And we made such a name for ourselves that it was almost customer driven. Can you look after our fire alarms? So what we do is we headhunted good directors, guys and girls who have been in that industry for some time, and put them in a seat as a director of that new business. And then it's a throat to choke for us. So each of the divisions that Future Group has, there's 6 now, has a director that is, running that part of the business and responsible to make sure it falls in line with the rest of the group. And that's how it's going.
Yeah. Look, and I think, just kind of moving on to growth strategy and how to do that. I think a lot of, entrepreneurial types and business owners fall foul of trying to do too much themselves and taking too much responsibility, not delegating, not handing trust to people that will potentially do it better than themselves anyway. Right. You can't do everything. And that's, we've learned myself in particular, a few sharp lessons with that over the years. You think you're invincible, you think you can do everything, but you end up strangling yourself by trying to do it all, really.
Sure.
And restrict growth. So,
no, delegate. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the key part. So having these guys, girls, in their seats, we set some rails, some parallels that the business has to run with inside, but they're free to kind of do what they want. So we have a sales team, an accounts team, marketing team that work for all those different divisions. They follow the rails with the same client base. So sure, the sales team are bringing the work in, depending on what discipline that client needs. Yeah. And the nice thing is, if one of the departments, are awarded the keys to a block, the other divisions are introduced to that client. So they like it. It's one contract out, one set of keys sent out, and we can
exactly that
cover
becoming that one-stop shop.
Yeah. It works.
Yeah. And talking about that, so, about 18 months ago, we took the step into block and estate management, and, you guys were certainly high on our list of contacts that we wanted to approach and engage, because you need those that have got the correct insurances, the correct qualifications to deliver the services, particularly post Grenfell with the safety issues of fire regs and everything else, that you're dealing with a reputable company. So I know we've been doing quite a lot of work together.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, it's great to see. I mean, when I heard the name pop up, it's fantastic for us. We're working with you. But being that we've been in the industry so long, we sort of understand all the regulations and obligations that we need to work to. So we can also be your eyes and ears whilst we've got an engineer on on one of your estates. They feed back to us, and, not just what we're there for, but they feed back what other things they've seen, spotted, or, you should know about this. So I think, like yourself, that we're trusted because we can be that person as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, again, you've actually been a customer of ours as well, haven't you? We sold your property a few years ago, and I remember coming down to meet you to discuss it and see the offices that you had based down by, in Grangewood House, wasn't it, in Loughton, which was already an impressive office, but I haven't been to your new office, but I followed the journey on LinkedIn, and that looks pretty impressive now.
Yeah, it's a good space. So I was always getting on a train from my office. We was starting to grow out of where he was, and we couldn't expand, so it started to swell in there a bit. And as I was walking to the train station, there was a unit, and the gates never seemed to be open, and the weed started to grow, and that was it. My eyes sort of hooked.
Dog with a bone.
Yeah. I've got to have it. So I brought Jordan, business partner, over. I said, we've got to get this place. He had the yard, everything for us. But it was a bit of a dump.
Was it?
Anyway, we got the keys. It's amazing, isn't it? When you've got and you're focused, it was just ours. It was the vision. Yeah. So it took the keys, took 3 or 4 months to sort of retain it. And that's it.
And when did you move in?
We moved in June last year.
Right, okay.
So the keys, I think, around February last year. Moved in June. So
it's amazing what a space can do to the whole company environment, culture, ethos, everything about it. I mean, like I said to you earlier, so we've just moved took this space in January, refurbishing our phone and voice office. I know when I move the staff back in there on Monday, it will be like that Christmas morning feeling where, there's that element of excitement. Everything's new, the novelty factor. It's exciting. It should be exciting to come to work anyway, but it's even more exciting that they're coming in, and
it helps. I mean, we've got a big kitchen space, communal space. The idea was that, it's not just desks. So it's somewhere that we can be creative together. Nice meeting rooms and lots of different offices, as well as a big kind of operations area.
Fantastic.
And it does. Everyone who comes in, even into your new staff, come in and see this lovely building.
Yeah.
Wow, you know, this is impressive.
Yeah.
And I think, so we bring clients when we can.
Yeah.
Staff love it.
Yeah.
It's
I think it's, as soon as you move into a nice space, it's like, how many clients can I have done in a short period? I want to show it off.
Get them in.
And look, you know, like you'll know from your own business journey, balance sheets are impressive, you know, customer testimonials are impressive, but there is always that heartwarming feeling when you walk into an environment that you've created and you're looking around at the glowing faces. Everyone's happy to be there. People are loving the journey, and you've put that together.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a big.
Yeah. It's also when I walk out in the morning, you know, I'm OCD. My vans are always immaculate, or I'm sending pictures. So to walk in and see the fleet vans, engineers dressed in, you know, full uniform, standing in that lovely office, it is a wow factor. Anything.
No, brilliant.
Actually, this is what it's all about.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm always a big advocate of success stories and seeing people do well. And, you know, for those that care or don't know. So Jamie I was educated in Hynes Park and I grew up in Chingford, and there was a lot of kind of friendships forged between the two schools and the two areas, but ultimately two working class areas. And, you know, there's been a lot of success stories out of those particular schools from people that, you know, didn't have deprived upbringings. They had good upbringings, but wanted to go on and push and had that bit between their teeth, which was predominantly a very average education, really. So look, it's lovely to kind of see that from afar, you know, the job that you guys are doing and the direction that you're taking it. I know it hasn't always been a bed of roses for you. No. And, you know, part of your journey, like most entrepreneurs, you know, kind of includes some tough situations, you know, that can make you or break you, really. So, when I first met you, you had another business, called Parkway, which I think you kind of founded very early on.
I was young, 21. I bought myself the van. Yeah, I was working for employed and to get more work weekends and evenings as you do as an electrician. Yeah. And thought, you know, I can go for myself.
Do this.
And do it. So Parkway was born 2001 and spent 12 years building out, or 11 years building out. It was a success.
Was you based? I remember your office, your Station Road then?
My first little place was in Station Road. So it was a ground floor of a converted house. And then I moved in. My dad took a unit in Chingford in Loxall Road.
Right, okay.
It used to be an old American appliance centre, I think.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Shade moved in downstairs. Yeah. There was a roof space, so we rented that from Dad. But yeah, it was my first business, and, you know, there was no guidance. It was all just, you know,
high energy,
just dealing with what came in, reactive, really. And that, you know, over the years, and from that experience, you know, what we do now different. The future's just an advanced version of that. 14, in 2008, I was playing golf in Portugal with a friend of ours, his friend we share, Spike Scully and Scales, and was watching the news. We were sitting in the villa watching the news, and we was all flying there. It was Lehman Brothers walking out of a bank with boxes of personal.
So I remember that specifically as earmarked in my mind as well. I think that was September 2008 that they went bust.
Correct. And I remember Scully turned around to me and said, this is not great. He's like, it would be great for you, Joe. I was flying. I was like, we'll be all right. Yeah. Sort of 2 years following that, builders started to go bust. In a lot of new build flat, rewiring big sets of flats for the house builders. And they all went pop overnight. So 2 years later, it was like tsunami came. It just too much.
Everyone dragged everyone under.
Yeah. And the accountant come in and said, you know, you've got two options. You either pay this off for the rest of your life, you know, to try and survive, keep what you got, or it's time to throw the towel in. It was like horrendous. So I think it was Christmas 2012, I think, or 2011. Yeah, I had to let all the staff know, employed a few of them.
Yeah, I mean, you've done well really to kind of drag it out for as long as you did, but it starts to become, you're dragging, you know, a heavy weight up a hill, and exactly that. And no matter what you do, I mean, obviously that you've got a sense of responsibility to your team, to your clients, those that you've got a line of credit with, to try and swim and get your head above water again, but you can't, you know, exactly that.
So much, it'd be taking too long, and it was past it.
So comparably, and he won't mind me mentioning this, he's retired now, but my uncle, so my dad's sister's husband, he was also fire alarms and that kind of stuff, had big contracts with Lehman Brothers. One of the loveliest guys you can meet, a bit like you. And he tried to do right by his staff, was paying everyone, building up lines of credits, and unfortunately they dragged him under, and he never really recovered, really. The age he was and the time of life he was in, you know, it was too too much too late for him to kind of rebuild and go again. So, I mean, 2008 was a kind of a sharp lesson for a lot of businesses, really, and unprecedented. You know, it's kind of, you know, So, which kind of then leads me on to, you know, to think about having you in as a guest today. So you posted on LinkedIn about a week and a half ago, and I think I was, you know, whatever I was doing in the morning, scaling through the social platforms, having a look of what was going to be my inspiration for the day, what the news were. And I see a post, and it was basically entitled, quite simply, My Why. And it was very much about your dad and his journey, and, you know, how that's led you into your own career path. So do you want to kind of
I think
enlighten?
ever since, you know, I was a kid, Dad had his own business from when I can remember.
What did he do?
First of all, he had a mechanics yard. He was repairing cars. That was a hobby more than a business.
Yeah.
And then he opened a blind shop in Walthamstow, a Bell Corner called Shade. And he was one of the first guys to manufacture, I don't know if you remember, like they were called canopies, awnings out of the shop.
Yeah.
Fresh plastic canopies. It was the right fashion. Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
It's like wine bars. Hollywood's in Romford. But so he made these canopies. So we opened the factory in Walthamstow, Black Horse Road. It was impressive. You know, I remember going in there thinking, wow.
Yeah.
He told me he'd got it, but I didn't really take much notice as a kid. But I remember when he took me in there the first time, I was like, this is something else. So I spent lots of weekends, summer holidays working. I absolutely loved it. And whenever I was asked to have some time off of school for misbehaving now and again.
Yeah, I heard you was a bit lively in school back in the day, was you? Was that more a concentration thing as opposed to?
I think so. So I just wanted to have money. So I played around. I had a milk round. I worked in the greengrocers. It was all about, first of all,
the hustle.
I just wanted to have a Game Boy, I think, at school. I just wanted to have, so I was distracted. School put me in a CDT.
It was a bit of an inconvenience to your money earning opportunities, basically.
Music lesson. I was interested in music.
Yeah.
So I used to misbehave, unfortunately. Yeah. So I was asked to leave. So as soon as I was, Mum was like, "You're not staying here. Go to work. Go to work with your dad."
Fantastic.
And secretly, I loved that. Go to work with my dad. He's got me all sorts of tasks to do. And I think that was my inspiration. You know, seeing him sat in that chair in his office and all this going on. Coming in and out. I was like,
this is razzmatazz.
This is for me. Yeah. I don't think it could have worked for him. I think we would have killed each other.
Isn't he involved in your business now? No, he's not. Okay. Your sister is?
Yeah. So Dad, he sold the business 7 years ago and he came to work for me as I had a big warehouse space and he was just had one part of that business left, which was selling temporary blinds. So I said, Dad, bring that to us. Keep that going. He sold that and he became sort of warehouse manager and he was doing odd jobs for us, but he worked for years. He did 82, so that's hard. But he pops back. He does bits and pieces, kicks my van. He's got the mechanic background, so if a family, something does, Dad to
the rescue. And obviously, his journey kind of ended in, well, not ended, but experienced something that you experienced. So, like our parents, their generation, the crash of the late 80s.
So he went through it.
Yeah.
So what we experienced in 2008, he went through it in the 80s, I remember he lost the factory. He had a Pride and Joy car. I remember it. Sad times.
Yeah.
But he got himself through it. And again, looking back, I think, when I went through that pain, I think, somewhere deep buried in the brain somewhere.
It's all part of the education that you never necessarily had at school, but you gained from being in that environment. Yeah. And, from that to Parkway to where you are now, you learn a lot of valuable lessons, along the way. And
you see them as pain.
Yeah.
You see a lot of things as pain. I mean, as I've matured and been in business longer, what used to be a disaster, I sort of suck it up a bit before I start to cry about it and kind of give it some time. Because I put myself through so much pain, unnecessary as all dust. It all becomes like
And
you think, why did I stress myself so much?
And you just got to find another way. I mean, we were sitting here talking before we started rolling the cameras about our new government and, the restrictions and the difficulties that you have as a business owner, taxation, the rising costs, etc., operational costs. But you have to find a way, and you have to understand that it's a level playing field for everyone in your industry or other industries that are getting hit with the same restrictions or rising costs. You've got to find another way. You've got to add another string to your business or start another department or do something differently. Pivot, exactly that. And I think we're, I don't know what your head count is. We sit around 40. I still think we're a speedboat to some of the larger shipping containers, big corporates in our industry that takes them a day to change direction, whereas we can do it in a second.
Yeah, of course. Agile. Yeah, agile. I think, we're 54, I think, as it stands today, and we're still there. So we sort of sit where, there's some big, FM companies who are huge, and they're not as agile as we are. So, we've got that luxury that we can.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's just about keeping everyone motivated, keeping the work.
Everyone happy.
Yeah, it's never enough.
There's
always one more. There's always another.
Exactly that.
But I think, these for small businesses, these initiatives that have been brought in, make it. We're just about to experience it. And I've done some numbers, with the DNI
increases and whatever else.
Minimum wage, unfortunately, we've got a load of youths, like young guys who have just finishing their apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And now they become very expensive entities. Can't get them in a van. So they're in this real grey sort of worry zone. They're not qualified because they're not got over the line, but they become a certain age, and this minimum wage is going to make it very difficult. But that kid, that youngster in a van next to an electrician on the rates that they set, it's going to be.
It's just that vicious circle, though, isn't it? Because they want to get the youngsters into work, and we'll kind of talk about roll into that now. So I mean, I'm around. My own son's 16. He's doing his A levels and still working out what he wants to do. And there's a lot of his friends that are trying to plot their career paths, and those that are coming up to GCSEs this summer. There's a lot of people that want to look into trades, but don't necessarily know the people or have access to how to get into that. And I know, again, you guys have been very, very active in that apprenticeship scheme, haven't you? You've taken in, how many youngsters do you bring in typically across the business apprenticeship?
So we have about 5 running at one time, and that depends on what division. Predominantly, most youngsters who want to get into that sort of fire, lighting, security world are better to start with the electrical. So if they can get an electrical certificate, and they can then sort of mould into different disciplines of that market. But so we got 5 running simultaneously at the moment. 2 are just coming through as qualified.
And so that's literally GCSEs, out of GCSEs, roll straight into an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And you basically, you need 4s in maths and English, basically.
Maths and English.
I'm saying 4, I'm holding 3 fingers up. So that's how good my maths is.
Yes.
Lucky my business partner's a maths genius.
Maths and English is key, and I'll stress that to any of the boys and the girls that we have them through. That's the important one. And my advice would be to find like a training trust. So there's one local to us in Ganners Hill.
Okay.
Great organisation. If anyone's interested in doing an apprenticeship electrical, then that's a great starting point. So the Training Trust, an organisation, a government backed, who sort of vet employers and they nurture the candidates, the boys coming through, girls coming through. So very good organisation because, obviously right to local companies too. But, my kind of advice would be to get yourself known by that association, because they can find openings. They're in contact with companies like us. But start early.
Yeah.
Get your
I think, obviously you're offering those opportunities, and I'm a big advocate of that, because left school when I was 16, didn't go into further education. Brothers worked in the city. That's what I wanted to do at the time. And 2 years later, decided it wasn't for me, and property was, then my career path. As I said, I know it's a big concern for parents and kids alike. 16 years old doesn't seem like you're old enough really to make those decisions, but to get a trade under your belt, that early on, and then give yourself a springboard of opportunities, it's just a no-brainer, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I think it's, 4 years, of enjoying the work experience, earning some money and getting a qualification. I think, some people are suited to it, some are not. But if you're not looking to go back to sixth form and there is an opportunity there and you want to learn a trade, it's a fantastic road, apprenticeship. Yeah. You start a bottle, learn the ropes, and believe me, they are the best guys. The guys who we've trained and brought through as engineers, I'm lucky enough to say I still have a few of them who still work for me today. And they're always the best guys.
Learn your values earlier, your way of doing things, your levels of service.
The respect, everything about it, what we expect, the work, the quality of the work, they are the best. They just become moulded individuals. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Morph into mini U's, don't they, really? I mean, obviously a lot of it just depends on attitude. If their attitude's right, you know, their work ethic is right, you know, they want to come in and learn, they're reliable, you know, they don't go out on a Sunday and, you know, watching football with their mates and having too many beers and not fancying work on a Monday. But if they want to learn, I know you guys give them the best platform to succeed, really.
Yeah, the college is, you know, the tough part. You know, the tutors, I remember them saying to me, look, we're not teachers, so if you don't want to be, just go. These kids, you know, it's down to them to, you know, that's the important part. So coming to work, yeah, you're learning the trade, but you need the qualification. So that college day, if it's block release or day release, is key. You know, we've had guys on before who's great on the tools, but they just can't get these qualifications. Yeah. Just can't get these exams passed. Yeah. Just solely because they're not been focusing or not, you know, been keeping up.
It's not priority.
It's not priority, yeah. And again, it's attitude. Yeah. If you just got to focus just 4 years, but, you know, it's once you've got that qualification, you can anywhere in the world with it.
Yeah, exactly. It's the key to the gate of the rest of your life, isn't it, really? It's like, you know, it's what I'm saying to my son with his A-levels. It's kind of, now you've done your GCSEs with your gates, your A-levels. Once you're doing your A-levels, no one will ask you what you got for your GCSEs. Do your A-levels. If you decide to go to university, no one will ask you what you got in your A-levels. It's your degree. Correct. So it's gate to the rest of your life. So look, obviously it's a really compelling story. Because, you know, we know each other on a personal level, but, you know, seeing the setbacks you've had, seeing how you've bounced back from it, you know, they say the comeback is always better than the setback. So what's the long-term goals? I can't say the future, but what is the long-term view of future? Where do you hope it will take you and what are you trying to build?
So, yeah, I think we're trying to double where we are today. I think that will be, you know, the optimum level. You know, I think sales wise, we're trying to double that, double the scale of the engineers we've got. I think then we become that. We're still agile, but we don't become one of the masters. And I think, you know, I'll hand my reins over to someone else and I'll probably take a step back.
Yeah. More so than your golf handicap, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the more, you know, just try and, you know, relieve some of the duties that I do and then just have a holistic sort of view over the business, keep an eye on it until such a point where maybe are.
And I think that's a nice place to be. I think when you take yourself out the firing line and, you know, you've got a bit more kind of breathing space around you, your decision making is probably a bit better. And, you know, you can then create that pathway that I'm sure will continue, you know, growing the company.
Yeah, I'm just never going to go and play golf with Scully and
although you not on a Lucala trip.
I am.
In October, yeah. So, okay. Sounds good.
Some lessons.
I've got to tell my wife, Claire, if you're listening, I'm going to Lucala with the boys in October. Yeah. So, hopefully I'll get permission for that. Jamie, look, really good to have you in, mate. Lovely to see the company that you're building and the success you're creating. And, let's keep pushing each other.
Yeah. Sounds
all right, mate.
Thanks
for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.